Welcome back to the Labor Forum here at WRFG 89.3 FM. And so I don't think I said hello to the whole crew when I started, did I? I didn't. So everybody who's here in the studio today is Paul Mclennan, retired MARTA worker, member of ATU 732. He's seated in the back. Hi, Paul. And Don O'Neill, child care worker, Fight for 15 member, leader of the Black Lives Matter movement. Hello, Don. Hey. Myself, retired auto worker, 30 years for General Motors on assembly lines, member of UAW Local 10. On the board we have Calvin Ivey. Hi, Calvin.
Hey,
retired truck driver.
Yep.
And we have our videographer here today, Ozzy, who's filming this interview so that the Ironworkers can put it on their website. All right, so let me introduce who's seated here at the table, representing Local 387 of the Ironworkers here in Atlanta. So we have Robert Duffield seated right next to me. Robert is the business manager. Hey,
Yes,
Robert.
ma'am. Hello.
Seated next to him, we have Cody Nathaniel, and Cody is actually a person who is currently in the Apprenticeship Program for the Ironworkers. We're going to talk to him a lot. Hi, Cody.
Hey.
And seated next to him is Chris Tobiasen, and he is actually the person who sort of manages the Apprenticeship Program. Thank you for coming, Chris.
Happy to be here.
All right, so I'm not sure who's going to want to start. I want to ask the first question, which is, what do Ironworkers do? And tell us a little bit about the local here in Atlanta.
Ironworkers Local 387 has been part of the Atlanta community since 1924. We build basically everything that we go to entertain ourselves, also the places we go to shop, and most of the places we go to work, from concrete construction to structural buildings to places like Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The list is pretty long. We do everything from glass work to structural iron to stairs, elevator shafts, to precast parking decks. A lot of the work that we do is commercial, but we also do public works. Pretty wide range. We have an area that we work in is 35,000 square miles, and it covers everywhere from Rome, Georgia down to Albany and over into Alabama, to Macon and parts of South Carolina. So.
All right. So I'm going to ask another question that's kind of people out in the audience might want to know. Most of us think about ironworkers and we think about people way up high with little skinny steel beams. And if they're like me, they're scared of heights. And so I look with absolute awe and terror when I see people doing that. So I would actually like all three of you to talk about why you decided to become an iron worker, if you ever were up that high, and how did you, I don't know, keep your lunch down. Let's start with Cody.
Okay, I got into ironwork through, I went to welding school, and that's how I was introduced to ironwork. I'm a really good welder, and I realized I can't be under a hood for more than 8 hours at a time, so I want to build these great structures, and that's what we do as an ironworker. And I'll never forget my first time on the iron. I was roughly 14 to 15 feet off the finished floor, which is nothing now, but my legs were shaking, my knees were shaking pretty high, and of course I'm harnessed in and everything. And my journeyman, Jason Librand, came up to me and he said, "Hey man, you okay?" And I said, "I don't know yet." And he said, "Look, it happens to everybody, the best ironworkers in the world. We all get scared, we all get these shaky legs." And probably about break time, I got down, I looked up, and I was like, wow, I'm only that high. And but then you just, as you get more experience on the iron, and the group of guys that you're around and the camaraderie, you just, it gets out of your mind real quick, and you're just able to truck along and do the mission and the job at hand. So that's my first experience on the iron.
Okay, Chris, your turn.
Well, I always knew that the ironworkers were around. My dad was actually a union ironworker in Atlanta. I tried to go my own way for a little while there. It didn't quite work out too well, and so I was trying to figure out different options and need benefits and things like that. And so I went and interviewed at the Ironworkers Apprenticeship and was accepted into the Apprenticeship Program. I wasn't too comfortable with heights, but one of the things is once you get out there and you start getting on those high areas, first time I got up there and looked down, it was just like one of those little Wile E. Coyote cartoons where you look down and the ground gets further away, but it doesn't really, it's still in the same spot. But the more you're around it and the more you're exposed to it, it becomes more of a second nature to you. You start having the trust in your safety equipment and everything else and the training that you receive, both in the classes and on the job site. That you're working with individuals that have decades of experience. Sit there and give you different tips and techniques and things to help you out, and the next thing you know, it's like you're walking on a sidewalk, even if it is 300-400. Highest I've been up off the ground is about 680 feet on one of the high rises in downtown Atlanta.
My heart just palpitated.
So that's the thing with heights, you don't know how to overcome it, because on any given day you're not exposed to it. Usually you just walk up to a side staircase or something like that, but when you're working around it every day, it's just one of those things that you just learn that's just normal and it's just second nature.
And I guess you are tied to a safety harness.
Yes.
A rope. And you tie your own rope, right?
You're always tied off and everything.
You tie your own rope, so
If
yeah.
you did fall, the furthest it would be is just 6 feet, and then that lanyard would kick in and it would stop you right there, and you can get pulled back up on the iron.
Cool. Yeah.
That might scare off some of the people.
So Robert, what's your story?
I joined Ironworkers Local 387's apprenticeship in 1996 after the Olympics. My first job was Turner Field, changing it over from the Olympic Stadium, and I was already had come out of the military. I spent 7 years in the Army and drove a tractor trailer for a couple years, and I was ready to get off the ground after sitting in a bolt pile for a month, and so had a journeyman layout of work, and I had that chance to get up on the iron and start bolting up. And like Chris said, it's just something that you sort of learn as you go. You get used to the heights and you get used to the work. The highest that I've been is a little higher than Chris. After the 2008 tornado came through and damaged the Westin Tower downtown Atlanta, I went out there with a company to replace the glass, and we actually replaced pretty much all the glass in the building, even if it wasn't broken, to make everything match. And I've stood on top of the Westin Peachtree downtown, and it's like 780 feet to the top of it. And so I've stood up there where the Westin sign is. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Tied off as well, though.
Okay. All right, so, you have another story?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
He was just stretching. All right, so if Paul or Don, if you have a question, come on up to a microphone and jump in here. Again, we're featuring different construction trades on the fourth Monday of every month here on WRFG. We don't want to have any competition between one skilled trade and another, but let's talk about what it means to have a union contract and union benefits, pay, etc. as an iron worker. Who wants to start?
Being under a collective bargaining agreement there's strength in numbers. In a normal job where you're not working under a collective bargaining agreement, if you want a raise, you have to go to your boss and ask for that raise. And depending on what the competition is and how the work is outside, he might give it to you, he might not. In a collective bargaining arrangement, you actually sit down and you try to find a good middle ground that's fair to both sides, fair for the worker, fair for the contractors, because if contractors aren't getting work, then iron workers aren't working. So we do our best to try and find that good, fair middle ground. A journeyman iron worker in Atlanta makes a fair wage and has a really good retirement and a health and welfare package. And we look at it, it's sort of like a three-legged stool, that you want the wages to be good, but you also need to build that retirement up and also health and welfare benefits.
Could you describe those a little more, at all?
you know, the pension is a defined benefit plan to where,
Yes,
you know, a certain amount is paid in as a contribution. It doesn't come off of the worker's check. It's paid into the fund, and then at the end of the career, whereas like a 401k or something like that, it's going to pay a finite amount. It's going to give you, this is what you got, and you're done once you spend that. A defined benefit plan will carry on through the worker's retirement, and you can also leave benefits to your spouse if you happen to pass before your spouse does. On the health and welfare side, we are self-funded. We don't get help from anybody. We work to increase benefits, and we self-pay for all of our benefits. The only thing we use for Cigna or Blue Cross Blue Shield is their network of physicians and doctors as cost savings measures.
I think you need to explain that a little more. So when you say you're self-funded, that means the union is is funding the healthcare. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Not the worker?
No, it's another benefit that's paid as a contribution from the contractors for the work done. That money goes in. As far as being self-funded, the union or the trust fund plan, that health and welfare plan, will pay the bills. We don't pay insurance premiums and stuff like that. Everything's just like we pay for it ourselves.
I have to give a big applause to the fact that so few workers now are going to have a defined pension. This shift over by bosses to 401ks means that you put your future security on the stock market, and if it declines big time, you've lost everything. Whereas a defined pension means that you know that you're going to get X dollars every month or until you die.
So is that like the beauty of being in a union then? Because union workers always get better benefits than everybody else, you know, and so people don't realize that unions are very important for working people.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit more into the apprenticeship program, because all three of you, that's how you became iron workers, and I'm gonna ask your experience. I'm gonna start with Cody because he's the most recent and current experience, and then go back to the others of you as to really, one, what it meant, how it worked, what did you do? So we'll start with you, because Cody, you're in your almost time to be a journey person.
Yes, a journey person, a journeyman.
Journey person?
Yes. A journey person, one who can do all. Yes, I am topping out to journeyman at the end of, or journey person, at the end of April.
Because we're really encouraging women to do this.
Yes, okay, I see where you're going with this now. Okay, I got it. A JIW. How about that? Yes, I am a fourth-year apprentice. I joined this 3 years ago. I'm kind of on a fast track. Scheduled to finish my program early because of my welding capabilities and a self-paced program that was implemented during my time here as an apprentice. Being an apprentice ironworker is probably the best thing other than joining the Marine Corps. I have a daughter who's 3, a son who's 8 months old, and it's the best thing that I could have done for them and my family, just because, like we just discussed, the benefits. I don't have to worry about a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety of being out there and trying to, get the next job or filling out resume after resume or application on Indeed.com. And this is what, it's true. I mean, that's what the union's for. We're here for each other.
That's right.
I absolutely love it, and I encourage anybody and everybody that I speak to who is in a crossroads of their life of what do I do, even if it's not ironwork, just become a part of an organization that's there for you and there for the workers and just not for the end production of the boss's pocket. So that's how I feel, and ironwork's great. I love it, and I like we talked about earlier, getting on the iron, it becomes an addiction. You wake up and you harness in, you're like, all right, let's go do this, gentlemen. It's game time.
Cool.
So that's how I am with it.
That is cool.
Chris, I'll go to you next.
Well, For me, used to work in a fabrication shop, and work was great in that fab shop until they just didn't get the next little contract work that they were trying to do, and so they started laying people off. And when they laid me off, I worked up. I was making a good, decent wage, so I started going around to other fab shops to try to get that same wage, and the most I was offered was $7 an hour less than what I'd been used to making before, and so I was trying to figure out what would be the better option, what could I do. And so I went and I talked to them at the local 387 apprenticeship. I had some experience, you know, from working in the fabrication industry beforehand. So I got some credit for what I knew because they didn't have to actually teach me that aspect of it. But one of the best things I gained was that guaranteed wage. It was something to where in the nature of construction, every day you work, that job is one day closer to being done. But there's also another network that's going to help put you on that next job. And you're not going to have to work your way up to that pay scale again because you've already reached that status. And so once I received my journey person card, I was at that point eligible to where I could go anywhere in the United States or Canada and be able to go to work and get that top journey pay instead of having to reprove myself, simply because I went through the apprenticeship program and received all the specialized certifications and training to where the contractors on these job sites know that this person that's walking on that site has the credentials and the skill set to be able to complete that project on time, hopefully with zero accidents, and be able to move on to the next project.
Good answers, y'all. Now,
I forgot the question.
essentially, we were trying to figure out how, what the benefits were, how it is that you appreciated or appreciate being an iron worker, how it worked through the apprenticeship program to where you are today.
When I was young, I always planned
How old
on.
are you?
I am 48.
Well, that's
Still
so
young.
I'll be 49.
He's still young.
But I'm sitting next to this youngster over here.
Okay.
But I had planned to go in the military and serve a career in the military. I had an accident, had back surgery when I was 23, and so the military, basically they put you on permanent profile and you're sort of locked out of a lot of advancement opportunities. And so my wife was pregnant with my son, and I needed a career, something that would pay for my son to be born and you know, have opportunity, because a lot of jobs don't give you that opportunity to set roots and be part of the community. And so I went and I drove tractor trailer for 2 years, but I was a long haul driver and I was gone all the time. And my son had been born, and it was, you know, you're gone 28 days, you come back and they're inches
And we're walking and
taller.
talking.
Yeah, exactly. And so I missed so much. And I had my brother-in-law had been working through 387 during the Olympics, getting ready to do the Olympics. And he said they were looking for apprentices, and so I went in and filled out an application. And I've enjoyed pretty much everything about being an iron worker. From the apprenticeship, I've made a lot of good friendships through it. Moved into leadership, and made it a goal, personal goal, to work to make the local better in everything that we try to do, whether it be through benefits or just trying to get more work, get more iron workers represented to where they have the same opportunity that I have.
So Paul just handed me a really good question, but before, and I'm going to pass it down to Chris so he gets a chance to see it. But before, I want to ask, so in your opinion, how many iron workers in the Atlanta area are not in unions?
Right now, Local 387 represents probably about just under 5% of the work in our jurisdiction, which is 35,000 square miles. So it goes all the way down to Albany and stuff. And that we only represent 5%, and our number of journeymen is right at 600. So there's overall, there's probably over 19,000 ironworkers in the state of Georgia, in the area we cover, that are not represented, that don't work under a collective bargaining agreement.
Wow, all right. So if out there is a non-union iron worker, I want to really encourage you to check out what it would be to join this union in terms of pay, benefits, and safety, which we're going to get to in a second as well. All right, so Paul handed me this question. The reason Paul isn't and Dawn aren't at the desk is, for those of you who've seen the WRFG studio, you know we can only get a limited number of people around the desk. So he wrote this. On your website it says your core values are safety, productivity, quality, unity, leadership, fellowship, service, and integrity. Paul asks each one of our union brothers here to say which one is the one that matters the most to you, or that you at least want to talk about. We'll start with Robert, because he's next to me.
Robert, you're the favorite.
They're all important. To me, the one that's the most important would be service. Is that we serve each other, or at least that's what our common goal should be. To work to make things better, to help those out. Our members that are in need, we have a member that was injured bad June last year, and it's important to support those when they're having problems. So service for me would be the biggest thing.
All right, I'm gonna go old school here and choose integrity. Not only because of the Marine Corps, but integrity. I value integrity because without integrity, to me, you're nothing as a man. If you give somebody your word that you're gonna do something at a certain time and it will be done correctly, then it needs to be expected to be done. If you continue to give people your word and tell them, one thing and you're doing another, your value of that meaning is going to mean nothing. And you just got to continue. If you do the right thing when no one's looking at all the times, people are going to see that, because just when you think no one's looking, somebody's there watching you at all times. And so if you just have good integrity within yourself, people start picking up on it and becomes an addiction to them, and then they're going to have more integrity, and so forth and so forth. So, but all of these core values are great. It's very hard to choose from. All of them represent our union of what we stand for. So.
I have a question. This
I'm
is
sorry.
Dawn. Oh, I'm
Chris,
sorry,
you want
Chris. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I think for me it would be safety. There's so many people see what ironworkers do and they think that, well, it's not something that I could do because I have a family, and ultimately it used to be, you go back decades, they used to bid fatalities into job sites simply because it was just so dangerous what they were doing. But in this day and age, and with the technologies we have and the training we do, as long as we have safety as one of our core values, we can sit there and mitigate those to where there isn't the same kind of hazards on the job sites. We have good contractors that we work for that use our and they don't sit there and put someone's safety at risk. They make sure that they spend the additional monies to make sure they have good equipment, good tools to use. We have special training to make sure that apprentices and even our journey people come in to get updated on the latest technologies that's going to keep them safe on the job sites, because no job is worth somebody getting hurt or having to be going on workman's comp or being let go because they can no longer do that type of work in that industry that they've been trained to do. And so with us focusing on the safety with our members and with our contractors, we're able to ensure that nobody goes in for a paycheck and comes out less of a person. They're able to continue to do that for years and years and decades until they can reach that retirement age and draw that pension for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I think safety is very, very important on all jobs. And like y'all said, all of them are important. Integrity, I got to be a man of my word. She got to be a woman of her word. And so now we have a listener that wants to know, do y'all know Jeff Falls?
Jack Falls.
Jack Falls.
Yeah,
You said
Jack was
Falls.
killed during the Olympic Stadium
Okay.
construction, what became Turner Field.
Right, and he was saying that they had a plaque for him in his commemoration.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
yeah, when Turner Field went over to Georgia State University after the Braves were done there, the plaque was actually taken down and given to Jack's family.
Oh, okay, so our caller, he's listening, well, our listener, he wanted to know that. So,
Yeah.
so you heard you got your message, listener. We appreciate you listening to the Labor Forum, sir. And have a nice day.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the ironworkers and who the first ironworkers actually were. And from my readings, I found out that the Mohawks were one of the indigenous peoples, tribes of people that were living here, and around 1886 they were hired to build bridges for the Canadian Pacific Railroads, and they were called the Skywalkers because they would go up there on those high beams that you all talked about. And they have preserved that skill for generations. And so I was wondering, how are the opportunities for minorities, those black and brown folks, now today to learn these skills, the opportunities that are available? Have they been available to the minorities that, actually started the ironwork? And can you speak on that?
I can't, I'm only 32, so I can only talk for how long I've been in, but I tell you what, when you step on the job, anytime, especially if it's a job, if it's a job that I'm working on or something like that, if I just see that sticker, or you've got a harness or bullpen or beater, you are my brother, you are my sister. You are there to be safe with me. My goal is to not only to be productive, is just to make sure you go home to your little boy and your little girl and your wife or husband. So to me, skin doesn't matter, hair color doesn't matter, what language you speak doesn't matter. As long as we can communicate, get communication across the board safely, so everyone is doing everything safely, so we can go home. To me, that doesn't matter. And it shouldn't to anybody, to any iron worker, to any laborer, period. I mean, we're all here for one goal, and that's to provide for our families.
That's
But
right.
the training opportunity, though, that's what I want to know.
With the training opportunity at the apprenticeship, for instance, it is an open application process. We do have, right now, we're running about 60% minorities in our apprenticeship program. We currently have over 100 apprentices. We're actually bringing in another group of apprentices later on this week, of additional about 20 apprentices. It's something that we're constantly doing a lot of outreach in the city, working with Urban League and places like that. And they come by and we give them tours of our facility to show them the different opportunities. And for us, it's just all about having people that are interested in learning a trade. I mean, it is a skilled trade. It does take some time and effort, and we're more than happy to have anyone that's willing to come in and sign up and then take the courses, because it is like a dual enrollment. You're working on the job site and then you're also taking classes. And as you progress along, you have more experience, you have more knowledge, and so you get pay increases also. And so we do have a lot of minorities in. We even had some of the Mohawk Indians actually helped us build the Mercedes-Benz Stadium even.
Okay.
They were able to come down here, some out of Canada with the dual citizenship that they have, and were able to step in. We're all about manning the jobs and getting people to work.
Awesome, awesome.
That's great. I mean, because like the young brother said, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you can come in there and do the work and you want to do it and learn, I mean, you can learn and get not just a job but a career is what these gentlemen are saying, a career. So that's great.
Yeah, and we're here to represent all the iron workers, whether they're represented right now or not. If they want the opportunities that we have for them, we'll welcome them at our door anytime.
Yeah, I would think that you would have the majority of the iron workers in the union, because the union, I'm telling people, unions, make things happen for for the working people. So union.
So we only have like maybe 10 minutes left, so I'd like you all to give us the very specifics about if there's a listener out there that's interested in joining the apprenticeship program or has a relative or a friend that they want to pass this information along to. Where exactly did they go and what exactly did they do? So I guess, Chris, because you're the apprenticeship program leader, you can tell us all that info.
Okay. Well, if you're looking for more information, you can go to our website. It's www.387jac.com.
That's a lot. Say that again.
www.387jac.com. And when you go there, you can search and you can see if you're someone that has experience. They can go through a probationary program because it's not something that they have to receive all of the 4 years of training to become a journey person. So they can look on that website and see some of those links. Or if you're someone that doesn't have any experience, and as long as you're over 18 years of age, you can submit the application online. It's something that we're trying to make it as easily accessible as possible, and we are getting more and more applications online. And as work comes available and we're able to pull additional apprentices into the program, we'll call people in by their order of application, and we'll do a 2-hour informational meeting where we explain what the apprenticeship's all about, what the training, what it's like to be an iron worker, and then also what the union's all about. And then after that, we do interviews and we pull in new groups of apprentices. And anytime we pull in a group, we try to have everybody in that group working within 2 to 3 weeks. So we can keep going. We're pulling in a minimum of 4 groups a year. The way our classes operate is they come in for 1 week of training 4 times a year, and when they're not in there for training, they're working on the different job sites, getting that on-the-job experience, that mentorship, because it is a brotherhood on these job sites to where you have this generation that's getting ready to retire. And the only reason Local 387 has been able to be here since 1924 is because you always have that experience and knowledge getting passed down to that next generation that's coming up, rather than sitting there just taking it with them when they retire and having to start from scratch. And so that's the biggest thing that we're able to do through apprenticeship. And all of our instructors are people that have reached that journey status, and they're able to give experience and knowledge that they've learned on job sites. And I remember the fab shop I used to work at, the longest somebody had been there was like 8 years, but first job I worked on as an apprentice, the foreman had been there for 36 years and the journeyman had been there for 20 years. And so there's so many things that they're able to show me and say, hey, there's a better way to do that. And so you can go to 387jac.com. You can find out more information. Our phone number's on there also. You can give us a call. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. We're always taking applications, and anytime we can usually give some kind of forecast about when we'd be reaching that application to pull in the next group of applicants into the program.
So I have one more question, because one of the other skilled trades said that that while it seems as though some people have more coursework for a longer period of time, and then go out on the job. Others, it seems as though it's like 1 week and then you're put out on a job. And I want to make clear whether do people get paid while they're doing the coursework or only when they're on the job?
The apprentices only get paid, they get paid by the contractor when they're actively working on the job site. As far as when they're coming in and taking all of the courses, being as it's a 4-year apprenticeship program, before we even dispatch an apprentice to a job site, we make sure they have the core safety fundamentals, like OSHA 10, Subpart R, which is subpart of OSHA that deals with steel erection, and then also they have the orientation, which is basically like a 30,000 foot elevation view of what everything an ironworker does. That way, day one on the job site, they already kind of understand what's going on. All of the apprenticeship courses are at a cost that is covered by the contractors, because the contractor wants to have someone that's walking onto that job site that isn't a liability, they're an asset. And so that's the way whenever they come in for the classes, they don't have to worry about how are they going to pay for these classes, because they're not actively working. They don't actively get paid while they're taking the classes, but they don't have to pay for the classes because the contractor's paying for them instead. One of the full years of the apprenticeship is actually welding. During that welding block, we teach them all the fundamentals about welding, how to do the sheet metal arc welding, which is also known as stick welding, and then also another 6-month block is flux core welding. Well, if you go to some schools, it could cost tens of thousands of dollars.
I know.
Versus something that we can offer to them, that's a cost that is covered on their behalf. If someone does come into our apprenticeship program and already has that experience like Cody did, when he came in, we're able to give them credit for that. Because under the Department of Labor, that's not something that we have to teach them, it's something that they came in already knowing. And so we're able to give them credit, and then they wouldn't start out at the very first step, they would skip to the second or third step.
That's kind of like you had some experience when you came in, so you got credit for that too, and that's great. But I got one question now. So now people that have maybe a small criminal background, would they be able to get involved in the union also, in the apprenticeship training?
Yeah, there are some jobs that they might not be able to go on if it's like a nuclear powerhouse over like Plant Vogel, or some jobs in secure areas like the Federal Reserve. We've done their work there, or some areas in the airport if it's in the secure area. But we do have, if people have issues, past issues, stuff like that, we work with them. We'll find them employment.
Great.
We welcome them.
And so that's understandable that, like you said, in certain places that you can. You have secure places that you.
There's a lot of iron workers that aren't angels.
Right. So great, thanks.
Yeah.
All right now, let's see. Well, we have 3 minutes left. Is there a final word that you want to offer to our listeners again about the benefits of being an iron worker and why you should go either online or call up or whatever? Oh, I had a question. So you mentioned, so if somebody applied today, how soon possibly, and they were accepted, how soon possibly would they be in a class?
Well, our classes right now, we start classes 4 times a year. And so we try to get people into the classes as soon as possible. The sooner you get them going, the sooner you can complete them. And so right now with our application process, it would be about August, whenever we'd be able to get people slotted into the classes and put applications in today. We're always looking for more applicants, people to sign up. We call them in groups, try to get you on the job as quickly as possible. And so the biggest thing is just making sure the contact info is correct whenever you put in the application, because it seems like everybody's phone numbers change every 5 minutes in this day and age. And so that's our biggest issue with getting people after they put in the application.
One final question, where do people go for the training?
The training is located right off of Fulton Industrial at our training facility. It's located at 114 Seelig Drive, Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia. We've been there since the early 90s. So we have over a 10,000 square foot training facility. And we keep trying to make it better. We're actually doing a big renovation to it now, adding more welding booths because we do have a lot more demand for welders. And so we're always looking to bring in people that have some experience in that aspect, and we might need to hone them around the edges a little bit, get them the certifications they need.
All right. This has been super interesting.
It's been fun. It's been great.
But I have to tell y'all, even if I couldn't get in because I'm almost 73, I'm still not going to do it.
You'd be able to do it. You would adapt and overcome. It'd be okay.
Oh, so the last question, is there a top age limit? Because I know you said there was you have to be 18.
Nope, right now.
In other words, if I was 73 and could tiptoe on those beams, you'd let me in?
We would. Right now, our oldest apprentice we actively have in the program is 56 years old right now.
All right. So it's been fun. I've enjoyed talking to y'all. I hope listeners, you've enjoyed this too. I have to tell you one more thing. So, and even the Labor Forum team doesn't know this. I got a call from somebody who listened a year and a half ago when Randy Beal was on. He called and he's in the Electrician's Apprenticeship Program now for over a year and a half.
That's great.
And he gives credit to the Labor Forum for that information. I jumped around when I got that phone call. This is exactly why we are doing this. We hope that some of you out there will take advantage and let other people know about it. We'll be back again next Monday. We don't know what the show is going to be, but you know it'll be good. So tune in then. And remember, if you've got an extra $1, maybe even 2 or 10, WRFG would appreciate it.
I just want to give out their website information one more time. It's www.387 jac.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ironworker members.
Awesome.
We
Thanks
love
for
you.
having
All
us.
right, thank you.
You're
All right,
welcome.
thanks.